The cabin lights flickered as the last passengers boarded. The air smelled of coffee and jet fuel, that mix you only notice before a long flight. Marcus adjusted his wife's hand on his armrest. Finally, he whispered. Vacation time. They had worked all year for this, a long overdue anniversary trip to Paris. But before the plane even left the ground, their dream flight would become a nightmare. It started small, a whisper from the row ahead. Then a glance. Then a smirk. A flight attendant approached, her expression tight but polite. "Sir, ma'am," she said softly, "there's been a seating issue. I'm going to have to ask you both to move to the back." Marcus blinked. "The back? Why?" "There's been a mistake with our seat assignments," she replied quickly, not meeting his eyes. Everyone nearby fell silent. One passenger shifted awkwardly. Another watched, smirking. Marcus could feel the heat rising in his chest. His wife, Alicia, squeezed his hand, trying to calm him, but her eyes were trembling. They stood, reluctantly. The flight attendant motioned them toward the rear. As they passed the rows, whispers followed. Someone muttered, "Good." Someone else laughed under their breath. And that's when a voice from 3 rows back spoke up, calm, firm, and clear enough for the whole cabin to hear. "Excuse me," the voice said. "Why are they the ones being moved?" Everyone froze. The next 5 minutes would change the entire flight, and every passenger on board would remember it. The woman who spoke was in her late 30s, business attire, silver hair tied neatly, reading glasses hanging from her collar. Her name was Laura Bennett, a corporate lawyer heading home after a long week. She wasn't known for speaking up. But something about the way the couple looked, humiliated, confused, hit her like a spark in dry grass. The flight attendant turned, startled. "Ma'am, please, it's just a seating issue." Laura didn't blink. "Then why are they the ones being moved?" "I boarded 10 minutes ago. I saw those seats on the manifest. They were assigned fairly." Marcus turned slightly, watching, unsure whether to thank her or to stay silent. Alicia gripped his arm tighter, whispering, "Let it go, baby." But his eyes said what his mouth didn't, "This isn't right." The air was thick with discomfort. A man 2 rows up spoke loudly. "Can we just take off already?" Another voice joined, half laughing. "Yeah, maybe they're in the wrong class." The flight attendant's face tightened. "Please, everyone remain calm." "Sir, ma'am, if you'll just—" Laura interrupted again. "No. Explain why you're moving them. They paid for these seats." She pulled out her phone. "Would you like me to show the airline policy?" Now, murmurs spread through the cabin. A teenager pulled out her phone too, recording. The couple still stood awkwardly in the aisle, humiliated. Alicia's eyes shimmered. The attendant whispered something into her radio, glancing nervously toward the cockpit. A male crew member arrived moments later, tall, professional, but clearly on edge. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. Laura folded her arms. "Yes. A couple is being told to move without explanation. I'd like to know why." The attendant spoke softly, almost apologetic now. "There was a last-minute upgrade. 2 platinum members needed these seats." Marcus frowned. "So you're saying we were downgraded for someone else?" The man nodded stiffly. "It's standard procedure." But Laura wasn't having it. "Standard? Or convenient?" she asked, her voice cold. "Because the platinum members who just boarded look pretty comfortable sitting right where they are." The man followed her gaze. 2 passengers, a middle-aged white couple in designer clothes, looking straight ahead, pretending not to hear. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. Marcus's jaw clenched. Alicia whispered again. "Please, let's not make it worse." He exhaled, turned toward the back, and took a slow step. But then, that same calm voice stopped him. "No," Laura said. "You've already been made small enough." Her words echoed in the quiet cabin. The pilot's voice came over the intercom, uncertain. "Flight attendants, prepare for departure." But the flight wasn't moving. And neither was anyone else. 10 minutes passed in tense silence. The pilot eventually stepped out himself. "What's the issue here?" Laura spoke first. "Racial discrimination. That's the issue." The flight attendant's face flushed. "That's not fair," she protested. "We're just following orders." Marcus finally found his voice. "Whose orders?" The question hung heavy in the recycled air. No one answered. A woman across the aisle, older, soft-spoken, raised her hand. "I saw it too," she said. "They were sitting there first. The others arrived late." Now voices multiplied. One by one, passengers began to murmur in support. Someone whispered, "It's wrong." Another said, "They shouldn't move." Laura glanced around. "Then we all agree?" The pilot hesitated. "Ma'am, please." But she stood up fully now, facing the cabin. "If they go to the back," she said clearly. "Then so do I." The teenager filming gasped. A few others murmured agreement. A man in a hoodie added, "Yeah. Me too." Within minutes, half the cabin was stirring. Phones came out. The mood shifted, from quiet discomfort to defiant unity. The pilot sighed, rubbing his forehead. "All right," he said finally. "Everyone, please sit down. The couple may remain in their assigned seats." A ripple of applause spread through the plane. Marcus sat down slowly, heart pounding. Alicia turned to Laura, eyes full of tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Laura smiled softly. "No one deserves to be treated like they don't belong." As the plane finally began to taxi, a hush settled again, but it wasn't the same silence. It was heavier, wiser. Hours later, somewhere over the Atlantic, the lights dimmed. Marcus leaned toward his wife. "I almost didn't say anything," he whispered. Alicia smiled faintly. "You didn't have to. Someone else finally did." And at that moment, thousands of feet above the clouds, one small act of courage reminded everyone on board that silence is never neutral. When the flight landed, the story didn't end. Several passengers shared their videos online. Within hours, it was trending. Hashtags, outrage, interviews, apologies. The airline issued a formal statement, but the real story wasn't about corporate policy. It was about courage. Because sometimes, the loudest voice isn't the one yelling, it's the one that refuses to stay quiet when something's wrong. If Laura hadn't spoken, Marcus and Alicia would have quietly accepted humiliation. If others hadn't joined in, the airline would have never been forced to act. And if you ever see something like this, anywhere, not just on a plane, remember, one word can change everything. Speech balloons. So what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent, or spoken up? Tell me in the comments below. If you believe in standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories that challenge prejudice and inspire humanity. Because in a world full of quiet passengers, be the one who speaks up.